Hello and welcome to this overview. In this preview, we look at forms for credit transactions. So we get there by clicking that icon on credit. So it gives us two options. There's the option for creditors forms, and then we have the option for debtors forms. Let's start by looking at creditors forms. Now, creditors forms, we've got a very long list, about 10-12 forms. Now we start with the overhead invoice. Click that one, and then it gives us 3 rows if the business is not registered for VAT. And if it is registered for VAT, then we select that one to get an extra row which generates entries to purchases VAT, purchases excluding VAT. And then if the business is registered for VAT, either 20 or 5%, we get 5 rows. So a lot of work is already done. The last 3 accounts are selected for us. All we need to do is select the top 2 accounts. And it indicates that top row is going to be debited to the account selected in the top box. Second row credited to second row is going to be credited to the creditor's account. Now we've got to select, we've got to customize. We've got about 100 accounts, and so far we've got about 11 accounts already, 12 actually already named. So you customize these. There is a special feature which we'll look at shortly. And okay, we select that one, and then we type in the net amount. You type in the net amount and the rest is generated. Now that should be 20%. So 100, and the rest of the amounts are generated. And then we get a narration here, which is duplicated below. Document number duplicated below, and all these are aimed at saving time. Remember, the month can be modified. The month can be modified. Simply delete that and type in what is desired. So now remember, there's a guide. There's a guide there. Select the VAT rate and so on and so forth. You read through that, and that's the overhead. Now we got the cost of sales invoice form, which is very similar. Now there is one difference. The cost of sales form, this one below, the list up here, the accounts should range from 21 up to 49, as illustrated on the left here, 21 up to 49. Although it's not yet customized, and in the next 2-3 weeks we should have done that, actually 2 weeks. So at the moment you've got a long list. Let's see, they're actually, at the moment they are mixed up, both the overheads and the cost of sales. So the list is stretching from 21 to 49 and extending from 50 up to 180. That's all. But otherwise the list is, the form is fully functional. There's nothing wrong with it. So those are the cost of sales. And then here we've got the fixed assets invoice form. Now we use it to record invoices and debit notes as well. So you got to start by selecting the desired, the used VAT rate, which determines the rows. There is a guide up there. And then here, now take note, this form is not yet, oh, it is actually customized. It is customized, yeah. Fixed assets, yeah, it's customized. So we only have fixed asset cost accounts. Only fixed asset cost accounts to select from, and that one makes our work much easier. And then below here, we only have creditors, which creditor supplied the product. You select one and that's it. And then of course you proceed to the net amount. This one desires the net amount. Now if this is 0%, you type in 100, everything is going to be 100 because there is no VAT. Now next we'll look at the overhead credit note. Credit notes for received on purchases or overhead costs. So we use this to record that. Now that one should be for overheads. This one is for cost of sales, and this one is for fixed assets. Fixed assets credit note, assuming a fixed asset was returned and a credit note was received. So we start by selecting, of course, we start with the VAT rate, proceed to the date. And here we simply click the drop down. Assuming the month was earlier, I think we scroll. Yes, we scroll. Different operating systems behave differently with dates. Even if it's in 2015, we select the year and then we come to 11th. We set that one. It's entered in the top and duplicated below. Of course, these indications are made. Now here it says that the entry on that row will be credited to the general ledger and the VAT ledger. This one will be credited to the VAT ledger, and this one will be debited to the general ledger to the creditors control account. Now remember, whatever is done to the creditors account is duplicated on the control account, or vice versa, in order to have the sum of individual creditors being equal to the balance on the creditors control account. We shall look at that during reconciliation when we look at the reports. And now this form desires a gross amount. You type in the gross amount and then the rest is generated by the app. Then we enter narration there at the top and document number. And of course, you remember there's a guide at the top there. And that's it. Now below here, we've got trade creditor paid if a creditor is paid. So we select the creditor who was paid, that is to be debited, and then we select the account which made the payment. Remember, there's a guide there. Now we look at trade creditor refund, a refund received from a creditor for whatever reason, and then accrued purchases invoice. Now this is an invoice for a purchase that took place the previous year, and the invoice is received in the new year. So we use this form to record that invoice. There is a guide there and some explanation. And then creditors dishonored check. Creditors dishonored check. In case a check sent to a creditor is dishonored, this is the form to use. This transaction comes from either a bank statement or a returned bounce check from a creditor. Look through that when you got time. And then now this form is used for adding or modifying creditors. There is a guide on how to use this. Okay. For example, we want the new creditor to utilize account 413. So we click that and then we type the creditor's name, assuming the creditor is ABC. We update the account. If you don't want to, then we click that one. So we click update, and after that we're going to see that creditor on all creditors forms. Let's scroll to the right. Now for some reason, because this we're accessing the app via another app on Google Play, but then at times it freezes. So we can't access that one. But then we've got a backup behind here. This one is coming online, so this one doesn't freeze. So we go back to our creditors. We're looking at the different. Now below the add modify creditors, we got the creditor opening balance. This form is used for recording opening balances, creditors opening balances. Now, under normal circumstances, when we're recording the main opening balances using let's see what that should be, using the multi-journal. When we're recording the main opening balances here, we should only record the total creditors that is credited to a suspense account. And then we come and customize the opening creditors balance by selecting which creditor was owed at the start of the financial year. So we select maybe all foods was owed. Now the entries to these accounts, you don't need to bother about that. You only select one and the rest is done for you. And we record the amount owed to them, 245. Now the account which was credited when recording the rest of opening balances is now going to be debited with this amount of 245. Remember, there is a guide here as well. And then we have a narration which is already in place. The rest is already done. And all our opening balances refer to month 0. And the aim is to avoid mixing opening balances with transactions in month 1. So that brings us to the end of the credit forms for recording transactions with creditors. Thank you.